someone will find the 5 treasures that I've hidden. And that someone could be you.
My name is Stephen Weeks. And I'm on a treasure hunt. My name is Stephen Weeks, and I'm on a treasure hunt. I'm going to pray. You will pray with me. Psalms 23. Lord, I ask you to be my shepherd, so I shall not want. Make me to lie down in green pastures. Lead me beside still waters. Restore my soul. Lead me in the path of righteousness for your name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, because you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen.
Like I said, I'm Steven, and this is me on the treasure hunt for John Collins Black treasure.
Hello, I'm John Collins Black, and I hid millions of dollars worth of treasure in 5 chests across the country.
So if you were unfamiliar, now you know. John Collins Black hid 5 treasure boxes all over the United States.
And here I am, boots on the ground along the Appalachian Trail. This is where I believe the Appalachian Footpath box has been hidden. So let's get into it. This is a batch of pink dogwood trees that actually has a trail that goes all the way around. And on the map, it says, look around with a dog and a tree, and it says, go fetch. This led me to believe this is one of the clues that this is the trail. Along with that, this path that I'm on right now is Carver's Gap Trail in Pisgah National Forest. This is the Appalachian Trail, which I believe the AT stands for. And this symbol had me thinking of round, bald guy, round, bald. And right on the border of North Carolina and Tennessee is this location called Round Bald, right on this trail on Carver's Gap. Also on the map, there's a butterfly right next to the begin here, which I've seen suggested that it's a rhododendron butterfly. Interesting enough, there's a rhododendron garden right next to the Carver's Gap trailhead. Along with that, there's this image that people have been discussing online that may look like a fossil of some sort. I believe it's a fossil of a carved gap, specifically representing Carver's Gap. Now, you tell me, what do you think? Because these are some of the images on the map that goes along with the Appalachian Footpath box.
This map that you're looking at is the map when you first enter the trail of Roan Mountain. And in Roan Mountain, you can see the trail for Carver's Gap. Interesting enough, if you look at the regular map given and you turn it, it looks really similar to the map of Carver's Gap. This image is of a cougar. The cougar represents the mountain lions that used to be found along the Blue Ridge Mountains, which I also believe can be found at Mildred the Bear Wildlife Habitat, here nearby Carver's Gap. This image is of a basket of apples that I think represents the silver apple orchard, as you see that silver ring around the basket. The silver apple orchard is located nearby Carver's Gap, here on the map. If you're wondering what that sound is as I'm walking, that's the sound of me breathing. This is one of the first times I've ever gone on a trail like this. And so I was really not prepared. But I had done the trail once or twice before, and so I was just getting used to it. Here you have another image on the map of some feet. I'm not exactly sure what this means or how to fully understand this compass that's also on the map and the arrow pointing. I know that I turned the map, but I didn't necessarily turn it to the north, so I'm not exactly sure what that symbol means. Another image is of the feather. Again, I'm not exactly sure what that means. Another symbol is of a skier, like he's going down the mountain. Although there are multiple ski resorts, I couldn't actually pinpoint which one this represented. So, and this symbol as well, I'm really not sure what it is. Here you'll see 3 dots on the map. And I don't know what those mean either. I thought they just added to the look, but it could have some significance. There are 3 images: the scroll, this feather-like pen, and a bear that has something with his back leg and some rocks that I do have a direct explanation for along the trail. And as of now, according to his website, he says it's been 1 year and none of the boxes have been found. Here I am, boots on the ground, Carver's Gap, Pisgah National Forest on the Appalachian Trail. This is where I believe the Appalachian Trail box has been hidden. When I first found out about this trail, one of the things I heard was John Collins Black is from North Carolina. And I was like, surely he would have hidden one of the treasures there. And a lot of other people suggested the same thing. And I think they were onto something. Now, I just got to take a circle back because I kind of started off sharing how I am a Christian and I decided to go on a treasure hunt. And now I'm a Christian treasure hunter. And so how did that even get started? Like, I'm just going to take you back to the beginning. I remember when I came across that post that John Collins Black made. And it was like, he hid 5 boxes of treasure all over the United States. Like, who does that? Like, seriously, who does that? And then I thought to myself, well, surely there's a bunch of people out there who actually do this for a living, who do this like all the time, search for treasure. Surely they'll find it quickly and it's not something I really need to get into. But I was still intrigued. I mean, who couldn't use an extra couple $1,000 to pay off some debt, maybe invest in a house and take care of their family? I mean, who would say no to that? I think the thing that caught my eye about this particular treasure hunt and this particular chest was specifically some of the rules that John Collins made. And it made it seem like it was feasible, you know? He said no digging is required and you should not dig at all to find a treasure. Along with that, he said he hid the treasure no more than 3 miles from a main road. So he's not talking about going off deep into the woods or into the forest or in the mountains. And so that those rules made it seem more feasible. He also said that you don't have to solve some difficult cipher in order to find any of the treasure boxes. He said you just have to read the book and follow the clue. Now, this book is 244 pages and it's broken up into 2 parts. Part 1 is all about the large lion share box, and it's 199 pages. And part 2 begins on page 200 for the next 44 pages and discusses each of the small boxes. And each of the small boxes is broken up into its own chapter. And he said all you have to do is read that one chapter in order to find that particular box. And the box that I went on to find first was the Appalachian Footpath box, which is the smallest chapter, consisting of about 4 pages. One of the other reasons why I believe this was the location of the Appalachian Footpath box was on his map. He has these little markers, like dotted lines, that seem like it's just hey, this is the path in which you actually use in order to find the treasure. But after going on this trip right now that you're watching, my 3rd trip, I realized that those markers are also could represent something else that will lead me to believe this is the path. After doing a little research, I found out that these markers are very specific. One, they help to notate the difficulty level of a trail and to make sure you stay on the trail because some trails intertwine. They also are called blazers. Now, feel free to fact check me on this. Like I said, I'm just getting into this. But it looks like the white blazers typically represent long distance, and sometimes there's red blazers and blue blazers. But these blazers have significance. And so, again, I challenge anyone to please come. Check out this trail. Check out the number of blazers. Tell me if you see that it lines up or not. So, obviously, if I'm sensing that
this trail is the correct trail. And I found the number of blazers and they line up with the number of dashes on that map. I tell you what, this third time had me in a whirlwind. You know, my first time when I went out there, I went off trail a couple times. I know I'm not supposed to, but I went off trail searching for around different bushes, around different trees. I'm like, the treasure has to be here, because I was feeling desperate, you know. I was on a whim. I believed I had found the trail. I believe I had found where this treasure was hidden, and I was just sure of it. But I just didn't find it the first 2 times. And so this time when I went on the trail, I was getting even another confirmation that I wasn't even looking for. That was telling me this is the trail that John Collins Black hid the Appalachian Footpath box on. And it just made sense. It just made sense. You know, when you're on these trails, your mind can go in so many places. My mind, the first couple of times, was just, you can get through this. And you can make it up this hill. I was breathing heavy my first, second, and third time on that trail. It was very hard, but it wasn't impossible, and it was very feasible, and it was within my grasp. And so, I don't know. This is a beautiful, beautiful view, and I'm going to show you why. I believe we're coming up on the next marker on the trail, which was the scroll on the map. I remember when I first came to this first marker, and I was like, I wonder what this scroll is. And when I got here and I looked, I was like, wow, oh my gosh, this fits, this fits, this fits. And what it is there's a view of both Tennessee and North Carolina that I couldn't see on the first time I came. And you'll see a picture of that in a second. But you'll see that the Tennessee view shows all the mountains located at Round Bald. And it's just an amazing view, which made this hike beautiful. And then on the other side, you have a view into North Carolina, Round Bald, where you see all the other mountains and peaks. And it was just gorgeous. So I just felt like, this is it. This is the clue. That scroll represented this marker on the map where you could see both Tennessee and North Carolina. This was Round Bald. This was the first marker along the trail to John Collins Black Appalachian Footpath box. And it just made sense. It just lined up. You know, I call myself the Christian treasure hunter now because it took some faith for me to buy the book and believe I could find this treasure. And I remember when I went on the trail, my talks with God would include, like, why am I doing this again? And it's like, well, you could definitely use some money. You could definitely use that treasure. You could definitely benefit from this. This may be worth doing. But one of the real questions was, why did I believe it was possible for me to find the treasure? Like, what gives me the gall, the audacity to believe something like that? And I realized I just had the faith for it. And one of the scriptures I was reminded of before going on this trail was Matthew 13:44. It says, the kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and covered up. And in his joy, he sold all he had and buys that field. I feel like the Lord gave me a heart check when it came to this treasure. Multiple times I remember just focusing on what I was going to do when I found the treasure, how I was going to cash in, and what I was going to do with the money. And I felt like I got so many checks about it that I quit several times in just the pursuit of the idea. And so when the idea kept coming back to me, I was like, Lord, I don't want to have my heart in a place where I treasure the things of this world more than I treasure you. You know, like it says in Matthew chapter 6 that do not lay up for yourselves treasures here on earth where moth and rust corrupt and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourself treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust corrupt and where thieves can't come in and steal it. And then the next verse, I believe, is really the key to it all, where it says, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Like, man, God has been checking my heart so much about where my treasure is. Which seems like foolish for somebody going on a treasure hunt who has continued to go on a treasure hunt. But I realized that I'm learning more and more about where my treasure is. And God is reminding me that He's my source. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but sometimes you lose focus, just like the camera did on the shots right here. Like sometimes, like, you can be in the midst of something amazing, but you lose focus or your mind is somewhere else. Like, I don't know what any of you may be going through, but I believe in a God who's real and who cares and who has created us to do some amazing things in the earth for His glory. And He's coming back. And sometimes we lose focus on the things that really matter. So while I was on this trail, I just had so much time to talk to God, to kind of get refocused, get realigned, even in the midst of searching for a treasure. Because here's the thing, you're not going to stop having to deal with the daily needs of life. You got to eat, you got to find shelter, you got to find clothing. Like, you're always going to have those things that you are going to need. And so remembering in the midst of your journey what matters most, keeping your eye on God in the midst of the daily struggles and the daily battles you fight. Remember where your treasure is. Remember what really matters. Remember to take a look around at the beauty of nature and all that God created. In Matthew chapter 6, Jesus says, therefore, do not be anxious, saying, what should we eat? What shall we drink? What shall we wear? For the Gentiles seek after these things. But your heavenly Father knows that you need them. Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. There's this constant reminder by God that in your life, God knows everything that you need. I mean, literally in that chapter, it talks about the lilies of the ground. I mean, look at all these plants around me. I'm pretty sure none of them are lilies, but just look at the flowers, look at the grass, look at the trees. It says, do you see how the Lord clothes all of them? They're not bare, they're not lacking right now. They're full. And it's like, how much more does the Lord care about you? His creation, who he breathed life into. it says in the scriptures, the fool says there's no God. Look around at creation. I know we mess things up. I know we got a lot of stuff we got to get right. There's things we need to do. We need to be about our Father's business. We need to be doing more and better in the earth. But still look at creation. Look. Isn't it beautiful? Doesn't it show the hand of an awesome maker, of an awesome creator? I would just encourage you to go on a trail, go on a walk. You don't have to leave and go out of state to go on a trail to find treasure. But I would encourage you to go on a walk. Enjoy all of God's creation. He created it for us to enjoy it. He created it for us to steward it, to take care of it, to use it, to not abuse it. Isn't it beautiful? I'm just reminded that life is a gift. Like, do you know that the very breath you breathe is a gift from God? You didn't have to wake up this morning. I know life may be hard, or life may be great for you. You may be on cloud 9, thinking you're living the best life, and you're doing everything, and you're seeing the fruit of everything that you put your hand to do. But remember who gives you life. Like, each and every one of us, we're not promised tomorrow. And I don't care if life is good or if life is bad. It's all a gift. As I was reading John Collins' book, There's Treasure Inside. And keep in mind, at least for me, I didn't read the rest of his book until I went on the Lion's Share Trail. Because I just didn't need to. He very clearly explains that all you need to find the smaller boxes is within the chapters in part 2. So I started with the chapter on the Appalachian Trail and then went to read the Pokemon box chapter and then went to, and I didn't read that until literally, I think the day after I did this trail. Nevertheless, in the book, especially if you read the entire book, what you'll notice is that John Collins has a love for nature. And one of his goals is just to encourage everyone to enjoy the beauty of creation, the beauty of nature, the beauty of these trails and the national parks. And there's so many gems, as he calls it, all throughout the United States. And so he really wants to encourage people to get on the trails. Now, I will say, I can't say I've ever done a trail before. I think maybe for hiking, for Boy Scouts, or maybe a friend took me to waterfalls before, and maybe just a trail to get to a waterfall. But at least in America, I hadn't done this before. And it was strikingly hard. It was difficult. It was challenging, especially right here. I remember getting tired going up and up and up, wondering, am I going to get to the top point ever? I remember when I went on this hike and it was a little bit dark, I was a little nervous, just to say the least. But I am grateful that they did so much on these trails to make sure people could go on them. from the markings to they clearly keep these trails up. And as though they were difficult, it was, even as I'm watching this trail now, it was beautiful, and it's still beautiful. And so I would encourage you, like I said, go for a walk, enjoy the beauty of nature, enjoy God's creation. Hopefully you won't be as tired as I was, but the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. I know I don't consider myself out of shape, but these hikes made me feel like I was definitely out of shape. And so definitely John Collins suggests you bring some water. I'd say bring a snack that you can don't trash the trails. So make sure it's a snack you can hold your trash, something you can eat that's healthy and that'll keep you going, give you some energy to keep on that trail. And bear in mind, you probably should go on the trail with someone. That's one thing I haven't gotten to do yet, and I hope maybe on my next treasure hunt I can actually go with someone. So yeah, I just encourage you, go on the trail. Here we are coming up on the next marker on the trail. This marker, I believe, represents the feather-like pin that's on the trail. Interesting enough, when you look into the history of the name, it's called Jane Bald. And Jane was a family member who died. But I think he's hinting with the feather and the pin that it represents maybe the writer, Jane Austen, or some other writer, Jane. I think that's what that means. So, to be honest, that's more of a weak explanation for the feather-like pen, but it fits in terms of there's 3 markers on the trail, okay? The scroll, the feather-like pen, and the bear. And you're gonna see that was a marker physical on the trail. The other map, which y'all saw on either side, round ball, was a clear marker on the trail. And we're gonna be coming up on the last marker on the trail before we get to the treasure. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. I did not find the treasure. And so if you choose to stop watching at this point, I definitely understand. You're like, who's this guy who said he found the correct trail for the treasure map that John Collins Black hit the Appalachian Footpath box on, who didn't find the treasure? And John Collins says it has not been found to this day, none of the 5 boxes. So I'm just going to go ahead and get into this. I don't know. Like, seriously. Everything that I found, I mean, those 3 clues that I wasn't quite sure about, I think some other people have found some explanations for. I've seen some other people suggest some things and have some explanations which still point to North Carolina. But it's weird that the treasure was not at the location when I looked for it. And so what you are going to see when I get to the end of this video is that there's a clear marker for the location of the treasure that I think is undeniable. But I don't know all the details, and John Collins doesn't share a lot of the details and how he is so sure that nobody has found it. Like, he says on his website, none of the boxes have been found, and as soon as any of them have been found, he'll let you know, at least right there on the website. And so I'm still waiting for confirmation. I did try to message him, and hopefully after I post this video, if there's a change that possibly one of the boxes has been found but not claimed, I would see that as a confirmation. But there's always a chance somebody, maybe him along with a bunch of other people, are like, you are absolutely wrong. You were close, you had some similar ideas, but you experienced some confirmation bias, which is one of the things he talks about once you read the whole book, about not trying to confirm your own theories or evidence with something that's not actually there, when you're trying to force connections when connections probably shouldn't be made. So I'd love to hear some feedback. I'm going to share this on a bunch of different pages to other treasure hunters who are looking for this trail and this treasure, and get some feedback. And I'm sure I may have some comments after this saying, okay, clearly I was wrong, or others saying you were close. But as of right now, I still believe I was right. And so when I finally realized the treasure was not at the final location, I was really frustrated. But I found some undeniable evidence, in my opinion, that the trail and the treasure were right here. And I don't know what to say. I was really disappointed, but I was so thankful for the journey. My faith is in Jesus, and I believe that even the faith I have is faith that was given to me. I've chosen to do this treasure hunt and continue to do it because I feel like it's something I have the faith for. And I'm putting it into action. And I'm seeing fruit. I'm seeing God provide in ways that I could not have even imagined. And I'm excited to share some of that journey with you all on the next 2 trips and on future trips, hopefully, where I can continue to glean more from God's presence. So I'm going to talk to you about this next item on the map that pops up, which is the bear and the rocks. I believe the bear represents the bears that can be found along the Appalachian Trail. And that back leg and the rocks, I believe John Collins was trying to steer us away from going that direction. So basically what happens is when we get to that next marker and it's coming up, it's gonna say you can either go to the left and continue on the Appalachian Trail, or you can go to the right, which will take you into Grassy Ridge. And when I first came across this, on my first time, I went to the right. I was like, that leg is different than the rest. It's pointing us in that direction. I need to head that way. And I thought I was going in the right direction. And if you go that direction, you'll see, again, beautiful views, but you also see a lot of huge rocks on the path. Like, it's undeniable. There's all these big old stones, and there's a couple markers of some monuments made to some people. I actually wasn't going to share it, but let me just share some of those things that I found when I went the wrong way on the trail. So one of the first things that pops up is this sign, which says Grassy Ridge. And I thought to myself, when I saw that, kind of, I don't know, like somebody messed up and they marked it out, and that color just reminded me about the bear on the map, because it It was an odd color, and it was different. It was, and so I thought, this is it. I found a clue. Like, this connects those two colors. They look similar, and this is it. And so I was like, the grassy ridge, yeah, it's over here. And so I began searching amongst the rocks. I began going deep, and there's more woods over there and trees, and I actually encountered some deer along the way, and I was searching, and at some point I thought to myself, maybe I missed something. Like, it shouldn't be this far off the trail. It looked like people have been setting up tents and fire pits. I found some other places where other hikers looked like they had stayed overnight, and I was like, this is far off the trail. I need to circle back at some point. And when I did, I actually came across this plaque, this monument, and I was reading it, and it just didn't fit anything. It was just a monument amongst all those huge stones. And so I didn't know what to do with it. And this was after my first day on the trail. I went back because it just wasn't fitting. And so when I started to look back at the map and explored a little more in detail, I realized that those rocks are further away from the X marks the spot. And so it actually may have meant to show me what the wrong way was. And that's what I began to realize. Like, those rocks in that back leg, even the way he drew it, he wasn't leading us towards it. He was leading us away from that path. And so although the path splits right here, you can either go to the right or the left, I realized that he was encouraging us to follow the Appalachian Trail, meaning follow the bear. And that's what I realized when I went back on the second time on the trail, was that he meant to go left on the Appalachian Trail, and continue on the Appalachian Trail, because the other thing is, he said it was along the Appalachian Trail, and the Appalachian Trail just diverted to the grassy ridge. And so I realized that I needed to go this way, and so I did. And so as you saw, I went to the left, and you can still see those markers. And the other thing was, I began to see that even the number of markers from the bear to the X is where X marks the spot. I remember once I decided to keep going past where I thought the X was, where I thought the treasure was, and see how far it went. And I encountered some runners who were running along the Appalachian Trail, and it looked like they were running for a minute. And so this trail goes on for a while. I'm not exactly sure how far this part goes on Carver's Gap, but it's a good running trail apparently. So there was definitely a few runners who like to go along that trail. Nevertheless, I was here, and I'm going to bring up another clue in which I think it was important to notate that I think John Collins Black was trying to clue us in on, which was at the beginning of the map was the dog and the dogwood tree saying look around, and there clearly was a path around that dogwood tree. But what I realized was that right here at the end of the trail where the X marks the spot, a bunch more dogwood trees are right here in this area. And so I realized, although he was saying look around, I think he was actually cluing us in on where to look around for the treasure. And that's where I went off the trail a little bit. And I didn't have to go too far before I saw something that I felt was indisputable, as this is where John Collins Black hid the treasure. And if you go up this trail and you go off just a little ways, you can stay in eyesight, not more than maybe 50 feet, was this. These corrugated metal pieces of steel or something, I believe he covered up the treasure with in order to protect it from the elements, which made sense because he said you didn't have to dig. And so how would you protect it from all the elements? This is where I believe he hid the treasure. And I believe somebody either found it or it could have washed off and went somewhere else. I don't know, but that's it. Join me in my next video where I show you the location of the Pokemon box. Like I said, my name is Steven, and I'm the Christian treasure hunter. Remember, the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field.